All right, everyone, ready to dive in. Today, we're taking a closer look at the one and only Ralph Fiennes.
Excited to get started.
Now, you might know him best as, well,
Are
Voldemort.
you who must not be named?
Right, exactly. But believe me, there's a whole lot more to him than just that.
Oh, absolutely.
We've got this incredible biography here, just full of stories about his life and career. It's amazing. And,
I know, it's really something.
yeah. And get this, he actually directed a movie about Rudolf Nureyev,
The ballet dancer.
yeah. So that's like a pretty big jump from Voldemort, wouldn't you say?
It is, but when you dig into his past a bit, you start to see how all these different parts of his life, they actually.
They all connect.
Exactly.
Okay, so let's go all the way back to when he was a kid.
Right.
I was so surprised to learn that, even though his family didn't have much money, they were like super supportive of him being creative.
That's so important, isn't it?
Totally.
Yeah.
And his mom, get this, introduced him to Shakespeare when he was really little.
Wow, so yeah.
Yeah. I mean, just imagine that, right?
It's pretty amazing when you think about it.
A young Ralph Fiennes,
Yeah.
totally captivated by Shakespeare.
It definitely shaped him, even though his first love was actually painting.
Oh, that's right. He even went to art school before he realized, like, acting was his real passion.
Yeah. It makes you wonder how that visual background might have influenced his acting, right?
Oh, for sure. Like, that visual sense informing his performances.
Exactly. And maybe it even explains why he became a director later on. It's like bringing everything full circle.
That's a really good point. I hadn't thought of it like that.
It's all connected.
And it's not just him, is it? A bunch of his siblings are involved in the arts, too, like his brother Joseph.
An actor, yeah.
Right.
It really shows the kind of environment they grew up in, just surrounded by creativity.
So let's talk about his career, because, wow, it's impressive.
It really is.
He started out in theater, lots of Shakespeare.
Of course, classic training.
And then he moved into film in the early 90s.
That stage background is key, though. It really gave him such a strong foundation, and you can see that in every performance.
You can totally see that in his intensity, the nuances he brings to the screen.
Absolutely.
Yeah, even in his first film role, Heathcliff in Wuthering Heights, you see that raw talent,
Such a powerful performer.
He has this incredible ability to show, like, passion and vulnerability at the same time. It's amazing.
It really draws you in, even though the film itself got,
Mixed reviews.
yeah, you could say that.
But his performance, what did you think of it?
Oh, unforgettable. Definitely memorable. Even then, you could tell he was going to be huge.
And then came Schindler's List.
Such a powerful film.
In that role, Amon Goeth, I mean,
Heavy stuff.
he absolutely nailed it, though.
Oh, he did. It's a performance that sticks with you. That chilling portrayal of such a complex, disturbing character. It earned him his first Oscar nomination, and deservingly so.
Yeah, it's incredible how he can make even the most, like, monstrous characters seem human.
That's his brilliance. He doesn't shy away from their darkness, but he also finds those tiny bits of humanity, which makes them all the more terrifying.
It's fascinating because in interviews he said taking the role was a no-brainer for him. He was just so excited to be a part of such an important story.
Powerful storytelling, even if he's the villain.
Right. And you can see that commitment in everything he does. His second Oscar nomination for The English Patient really cemented him as a leading man.
And then there's his Tony Award for Hamlet.
See, that's what I mean, master of the craft.
Absolutely.
But can we talk about how many different kinds of films he's been in?
His range is incredible.
He goes from romantic leads like The English Patient to darker roles like in Red Dragon. He even did a rom-com, Made in Manhattan.
He keeps you guessing.
Exactly. I think it's those Golden Globe nominations that really stand out, though. The Constant Gardener, Bernard and Doris, The Duchess.
What do you see as the connection between those roles?
They all have this thread of exploring characters with really complex inner lives, grappling with tough moral choices.
He seems drawn to those roles, the ones that make you think, that challenge you.
And speaking of characters who make you think,
Oh, here we go.
we can't ignore the big one.
Lord Voldemort.
There it is. The role that made him a global icon, even though he was,
Covered in makeup.
yeah, all that makeup and prosthetics.
But he still managed to create such a chilling villain. It's incredible.
He's got this presence, this menace, even when you can barely see his face.
It's a testament to his talent, how he uses his voice, his body language to convey so much emotion.
And honestly, it's not like his career peaked with Harry Potter. He's been in so many great films since then. The James Bond movies, the Grand Budapest Hotel, that recent hit The Menu.
Menu. What a thought-provoking
It
film.
really is. He's always evolving, always taking on new challenges, and that's what keeps people so interested.
And it makes you wonder what he'll do next.
Well, get this.
What?
He's also a director.
Oh, that's right. I almost forgot. How did he make that leap, I wonder?
It seems natural when you think about it, right? He's got this deep understanding of storytelling, plus he loves exploring different creative outlets.
So tell me, what films has he directed?
Well, he started with Coriolanus, a Shakespeare adaptation, which he also starred in.
Of course he did. A Shakespearean through and through.
Right. And then there's The Invisible Woman, about Charles Dickens' secret love affair.
Fascinating.
And you know what's really interesting? Both films were really well received. Critics love them.
People said he brought his acting sensibilities to directing. A keen eye for detail, a deep understanding of character.
Which makes sense, right?
Absolutely.
And get this, his latest project, The Beacon, he actually wrote the screenplay for it too.
A screenwriter. Wow, he's really expanding his horizons.
This is unbelievable. We've gone from Shakespearean stages to Hollywood blockbusters, and now he's directing and screenwriting. But before we get too carried away with his professional life, let's briefly touch on his personal life, just out of respect for his privacy.
Of course, it's important to remember he deserves his privacy.
Right. We know he was married to the actress Alex Kingston back in the 90s, but he's always kept his relationships pretty private.
And good for him. It allows us to focus on his work, which is where his real brilliance lies.
So where do we go from here? We've learned so much about Ralph Fiennes, his upbringing, all those incredible roles, and now his directing career. It's like I'm seeing him in a whole new light.
What about you? What stands out the most from what we've learned?
Honestly, it's his range, that ability to play a terrifying villain like Voldemort 1 minute and then charm everyone as a romantic lead the next. And then on top of that, he's a talented director with a real vision for storytelling. It's mind-blowing. But it does make me wonder,
Just that.
given all this, his diverse filmography, his work as a director, what kind of project do you think he'll take on next?
That's the beauty of Ralph Fiennes. He keeps us guessing. He could dive deeper into directing, maybe tell more personal stories like he did with The Beacon.
Or maybe he'll completely surprise us with something totally different. He could go in any direction.
Actually, now that you mention it, he loves music, and with his background in theater, maybe a musical.
Wait, are you serious? Ralph Fiennes in a musical? Now that's an image.
Think about it. He's already sung in films like The Grand Budapest Hotel, and he's got that stage presence, you know?
Okay, I have to admit, the thought of Ralph Fiennes singing and dancing is, well, it's something else. But jokes aside, what I really admire about him is that he never stops growing as an artist. He's not content to just rest on his successes.
He's always pushing himself, always looking for new ways to express himself, and that's something we can all learn from, I think.
This deep dive has given me a whole new appreciation for his work. I definitely want to go back and watch some of his films again with this new understanding, you know?
I encourage you to do the same. Look beyond the roles you already know, and you'll see so much more depth.
And who knows, maybe someday we'll have to do another deep dive, explore his future projects, and see what new heights he reaches.
That would be fantastic.
Yeah. But for now, this is the end of our exploration into the world of Ralph Fiennes. I hope you've enjoyed the journey as much as I have. We've covered a lot, but it really is just the beginning. There's always more to discover about him and his work.
And we can't wait to see what he does next. He's a true artist in every sense of the word.
All right, folks, it's time to wrap things up. But before we go, I want to leave you with one final thought.
What's that?
Given everything we've learned about Ralph Fiennes, his range, his passion, his willingness to embrace the unexpected, what kind of project do you picture him tackling next? What kind of story will he choose to tell? What new depths will he explore?
Let those questions linger as you continue your own deep dive into the world of Ralph Fiennes.
And with that, we say goodbye. Keep those minds curious and those popcorn buckets full.
Until next time. It's interesting to think about how his directing might, change over time.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Do you think he'll do more adaptations like Coriolanus, or maybe stick with original stories like with The Beacon?
That's a great question. I kind of think he might be drawn to, like, character-driven stuff, maybe even, biographies.
Makes sense. He's so good at bringing those complex figures to life.
Right, like Amon Goeth or Charles Dickens.
He seems fascinated by people who are, both brilliant and flawed, those who operate in the shadows.
And challenge those norms.
Yeah, exactly. And he's not afraid to tackle controversial topics either, like we saw with The Invisible Woman.
He's not afraid to push those boundaries.
And that's what makes his directing so interesting. He's not just trying to entertain. He wants you to think, you
He
know?
wants to get those wheels turning.
Exactly.
He does it in such a subtle way, too. It's not like he's hitting you over the head with a message. It's more like he's inviting you to, like, think about things and come to your own conclusions.
It shows a lot of respect for the audience.
Yeah, like he trusts that we can handle those complex themes and characters, you know?
Exactly.
You know, it's funny, when you think about it, there are some pretty interesting parallels between his acting and directing careers.
Yeah. Ooh. Tell me more.
Well, in both, he seems drawn to projects that explore that darker side of human nature, you know?
You're right. He's not afraid to go there, to those places that most people would rather avoid.
Exactly. Those messy, uncomfortable parts of life.
There's a definite connection there, this fascination with, like, the hidden parts of the human psyche.
And it's not just darkness for the sake of darkness, though.
Right.
He's also interested in redemption, in that possibility of change.
Even for the most messed up character.
Yeah, there's always this glimmer of hope. You know, a suggestion that even when things are really bad, people can still grow and change.
And he conveys all of that with such nuance. It's incredible.
It's amazing to watch, whether he's playing a villain or a hero. He brings this depth and complexity to every role. It's mesmerizing.
He's not just playing a character, he becomes them. And it all feels so real, so human.
And he does it all while still maintaining this air of mystery, you know? He's not all over the tabloids. He doesn't overshare on social media. He just lets his work speak for itself.
It's refreshing, actually, in a world where everyone feels the need to constantly promote themselves.
It makes you want to learn more about him, to unravel who he is, both as an artist and a person.
And that's the beauty of a deep dive like this. It sparks that curiosity, that desire to dig deeper.
I don't know about you, but after all this, I really want to go back and watch all his films again, you know, with this new perspective.
I know exactly what you mean. There's always something new to discover, especially with someone as complex as Ralph Fiennes.
This has been such an eye-opening conversation.
It really has.
I feel like I have a much better understanding of him now, not just as an actor, but as, like, a real force in the world of film.
We've only scratched the surface, though. There's still
Yeah.
so much to explore.
Speaking of exploring, do you think he'd ever, like, direct himself in a film?
Yeah, that's an interesting thought.
He's got the experience, the talent, right?
He definitely does.
It would be amazing to see what he'd do with a project like that.
Can you imagine the intensity he could bring to a role, being in control of both the performance and the camera?
Oh, it would be something else. Truly groundbreaking.
It would be a bold statement for sure, showing just how confident he is in his abilities.
And knowing him, I don't think he'd shy away from that challenge at all.
He seems to love pushing boundaries, taking those risks, and always evolving as an artist.
Right. Which brings us back to that big question. What's next for him?
What amazing things will he achieve in the years to come? It's exciting to think about.
Will he, like, go even deeper into directing, maybe take on bigger and more challenging projects? Will he keep surprising us with unexpected acting choices?
He could even collaborate with his siblings on something. Now, that would be interesting.
A true family affair.
Who knows what the future holds? But one thing is certain, Ralph Fiennes is an artist who deserves our attention.
Absolutely. He's a master of his craft, a visionary, and he keeps us all on the edge of our seats, wondering what he'll do next.
He really does.
Well said. Well, I think it's time to wrap up part 2 of our deep dive.
Already.
We've covered a lot of ground, but there's still more to come.
Oh, there's more.
Stay tuned for part 3. We've got some more interesting tidbits to share, things that I think will add a whole new layer to this already fascinating picture of Ralph Fiennes. Okay, so welcome back to our deep dive into the world of Ralph Fiennes. We've talked about acting and his directing, you know, his love for playing those really complex characters.
It's been fascinating.
But there's this one thing we haven't mentioned yet, and I think it kind of adds another layer to, you know, who he is.
Oh, I'm curious. What is it?
Well, remember earlier how we were saying his family was so supportive of, like, everyone being creative?
Yeah.
Well, it turns out his brother Magnus, he's not an actor like Ralph and Joseph.
Oh, right. What does he do?
He's a composer.
Wow, really? A composer?
Yeah.
So there's musical talent in the family too, huh? Makes you wonder if that's had any influence on Ralph's work.
Right. It makes me think about the music in his films, the way he uses it to create atmosphere and, you know, build emotion.
Yeah, maybe there's a deeper connection there than we realize.
Exactly. And you know what?
Yeah.
It makes me wonder if maybe someday they'll collaborate, you know?
A film scored by Magnus, directed by and starring Ralph.
Now, that would be something to see. A real family affair.
That would be amazing.
But even if that never happens, I think it's really cool to think about how music plays a part in his life and his work, it just adds another dimension to this already, like, multi-talented guy.
It really does. And, talking about Ralph Fiennes like this, it makes me think about what it means to be a true artist.
In what way?
He's always experimenting, taking risks, pushing himself beyond what's comfortable.
Yeah, he never stops evolving.
Yeah.
He's always looking for new ways to, like, express himself creatively.
It's inspiring, actually.
Totally. It's a good reminder for all of us, whether we're artists or not, to just stay curious, be open to new
And
experiences.
so don't stop learning, right?
Exactly. Ralph Fiennes shows us that that journey of creativity, it's lifelong.
It never ends.
And it's never too late to, like, explore new things, challenge yourself, try something completely different.
And who knows what he'll do next, right? Maybe he'll write a book, maybe he'll become a sculptor, maybe he'll even direct a Broadway musical.
Okay, maybe a Broadway musical is a bit much, but I wouldn't rule anything out with him.
He's full of surprises.
Exactly. He's always exceeding expectations, proving that he can do anything he sets his mind to.
And that's what makes him so fascinating. He keeps us guessing, keeps us engaged.
So, as we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave you with this thought. I think what makes Ralph Fiennes so captivating is not just his incredible talent, but also his dedication to his work, his willingness to take those risks, and his constant desire to grow as an artist. It's pretty amazing.
He reminds us that there's always more to learn, more to discover, more to create.
And to never be afraid to, go for it, try new things.
Embrace those creative journeys.
So thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the world of Ralph Fiennes. I hope you've enjoyed it. We've explored a lot, but like we've been saying, this is just the beginning. Keep exploring, keep discovering, and keep diving deep into those things that inspire you.
That's what it's all about.
And until next time.
See you then.